So, Heroes and Harlequins. At the end of this month at Harlequins Sandusky Community Theater. I had a wonderful meeting. I got to meet some friends over pho, because it was a Vietnamese place here locally that we sat and discussed, and I very much look forward to working with you all and really getting to. I super duper hope that this program just continues to grow and be as productive, even more and more so than what your first production was. iTyrant Games is here. Hey, iTyrant, welcome. Yeah, pre-recorded live. You are very welcome. I'll keep this up, and in fact, if you wanted to show this, you could probably put this in on our Discord if you are a member. If not, I'll drop it someplace. But you could probably drop it in Talent for Hire. And also, you could drop it in Your Creations, if you wish. As Your Creations is certainly, this is more of a theatrical performance of D&D, influenced by the audience that is there. And, yeah. iTyrant, have you been liking Pathfinder 2? I see that you've been broadcasting it a little bit, along with your usual games that you put on. Of course, we're here talking about Acquisitions Incorporated, and I'm like, oh, what Pathfinder 2? What's happening? You are enjoying it. I reviewed the beta for it, and these changes good. Well, I hope not just to mix it up between 5th Ed and 2nd Edition Pathfinder. I certainly hope that some improvements had been made between the beta and the release, because the playtest was not great. Now, I say this, I don't have any animosity towards Paizo. Look, they've been in business, they've been doing this forever. They're good at what they do. Though, we can always take sides or sit on fences when it comes to, edition wars, quote unquote, or something, but there's a point where convolution and requiring mathematical strings of constant variables, as oxymoronic as that sounds, to calculate a roll, to me it kind of took away from just telling a story. And I don't want to get caught up in the math or have decision paralysis or the like. So it just was really, I was open with my ness about it. But it might be worth then maybe there's something we put on the review pile and crack open the official Pathfinder 2 PDF and review the rules and see what all has changed up from there. And iTyrant, I mean, this isn't going to take place for a while, but if you're looking to maybe do some cross promotion or be a guest, by then you might have a month or two of play under your belt. And I would certainly love someone who would be able to help out and explain, how things are working. And of course, look, we're producing not just content, but we're producing memories. We're having fun. We're trying to understand things together as communities, and so to network with each other, even going back up to pre-recorded live. That kind of networking is very important because I can never claim to understand everything, and there's going to be people who know more about different things than I do. Hark says, "My God!" I just looked out my window, and it's just loads of lightning flashing all over the clouds constantly. Well, I hope that nothing happens with your power, or that you are safe and sound, Hark. All right, let's go into Acquisitions Incorporated. Thank you all very much for letting me do my upkeep step here in Magic the Gathering terms. Yeah, that'd be great, iTyrant. Now, I mean, I'm not gonna hard press you and make you commit to you gotta say you like it or don't, and oversell your rancor towards Paizo and Pathfinder 2e and push the glasses up to the bridge of your nose and go, actually. It would just be, look, this is a review of the mechanics. These are things that, from someone who's now run it for a little while, things to expect. If you want to run, you want to be a GM in Pathfinder, these are some experiences that maybe the book doesn't necessarily go over. Oh, so you just smolder with generic rage. Oh, I'm kidding around. All right, if this art looks familiar, it is because, as I said earlier, bum-ba-da-dum, created by the boys and girls over at Penny Arcade. Penny Arcade is a long-going, well, it's a forum also, webcomic that has floated along with video games for quite some time, and also have had some great D&D moments. I certainly... There's a couple of their comics that are related to D&D in Penny Arcade that had me chuckle. That said, I think you can expect that we're going to be seeing something more lighthearted. Now, Acquisitions Incorporated has been its own thing for a while within the Penny Arcade verse, and I think this is actually going to talk about it a little bit here. If it comes down to a lot of narrative, I'm not going to read everything word for word. I definitely want to get the gist of what we're doing. And the theme is going to help back up the content, right? The fluff will help complement the crunch. The lore will complement the mechanics. Not that you can't have a serious, you can't have a serious drama with the rules found herein, but it would be like, I don't know, watching The Office and expecting like Law and Order or something. Or I mean that's corporate versus lawyer. There was Boston Legal, I think. Was that the one that had why am I derping? Captain Kirk. Anyway, he played a bigwig lawyer. It's more of a comedic law take, as opposed to something like Law and Order. Rules are a guideline. You can take things from all systems you have run. I use the minion. Oh, iTyrant. I love minions. I was actually surprised that minions weren't included in 5th edition, especially with the streamlined, the streamlinedness of it. Yeah, this could be controversial. I liked 4th Ed. I had no problems with it. I was able to roleplay with it wonderfully. The math made sense and was easy. It's scaled. I'm starting a pot probably, and I'm also not talking about Acquisitions Incorporated, but still. I do get what you're saying, iTyrant. I should be fine since I have a laptop, but yeah, the thunderstorm radio alert. Sorry, what are you saying sorry for, iTyrant? This is a conversation. We could talk about whatever here. I have a PDF on screen, and we're going to reference it. We'll talk about it. If any of you have experience with Acquisitions Incorporated, then share it. Otherwise, this is a blind read-through. Let's talk about what the things that come up. Something may happen here that reminds you of a 3rd edition mechanic. Reminds you of this one time in 4th edition. Reminds you of, oh, wow, really? This is sounding a lot like Rogue Trader in the 40K RPG line. No, iTyrant, you are absolutely not a distraction. If you were a distraction, I'd let you know. We want conversation. I love conversation. All right, so, bit of a history. Our intention with Acquisitions Incorporated was to bring dark office comedy to a world of swords, sorcery, dungeons, and dare we say, we get a good feel for the humor, and dare we say dragons. This book, created in concert with Wizards of the Coast, sets you up for success in your own fantasy business endeavors. Chapter 1 provides an orientation for new franchise members, detailing how to start a game and play the Acquisitions Incorporated way. Chapter 2, well, so we'll get through this here. Now, I will not be reviewing the adventure inside this book. And the reason why I don't do that, and why I haven't reviewed the adventures for the other books that we have reviewed, is because it's going to be your adventure. My opinion of the adventure won't matter because I am not at your table. I am not the one running it nor playing in it. And iTyrant, just as you were saying, anyone can use anything. One of you out there may think that the Acquisitions Incorporated story, it's for levels 1 through 6, if I recall correctly. You might think it is just a steaming pile. This isn't my D&D. This is a travesty. 5th edition now as a whole. In fact, all of Dungeons and Dragons itself has been a mistake based on this one adventure. Then there are others who say, yeah, you know what, the adventure's a little rough. I'm only making stuff up. I have not read the adventure. Yeah, it was kind of rough. Something didn't make sense. But you know what? I'm going to adapt. I'm going to run it my way. Because I want that dark office politicking in the realm of high fantasy to take place. And so you make it your own. And some people might run it absolutely vanilla per the book. And have a blast. Just absolutely, this was the best. This was literally the best. Curse of Strahd, Waterdeep Dragon Heist, get out of here. This is where it's at. With its roots set firmly in heroic fantasy, D&D might feel out of sync with modern-day business dealings. But the game and its settings are actually a perfect fit for such tropes. Now, heroic fantasy, tropes, all of these are words that aren't just arbitrarily put in there. This is, if you're reading through it, it's trying to set the framework for the expectations of the contents in the book. It's okay to have a fantasy trope in this. It's okay to run, Lord of the Rings meets The Office or something. What better way to think of the big bad monster at the center of a web of an even bigger and badder plans than as the CEO of a mega corporation, using every resource to dominate the market? What's an adventuring party but a limited liability corporation, with each member contributing specialized skills to growing the brand and expanding a power base? Likewise, hirelings, sidekicks, apprentices, and other paid laborers working for the heroes have been staples of Dungeons and Dragons since the earliest editions of the game. Charisma in AD&D was good for little other than determining how many followers your character might gather, and, more importantly, how much pain and suffering you could put those followers through before they abandon you. In the world of Acquisitions Incorporated returns these hired helpers to prominence for their importance to the campaign story, and of course, for comic effect. When the characters are relatively low level, an Acquisitions Incorporated style of play can present them with even more hurdles to overcome. The often bizarre, unfeeling, and surreal elements of corporate and business life can add a degree of danger or absurdity to even the most run-of-the-mill adventuring. And as the characters attain higher levels and their franchise attains higher rank, their connections to Acquisitions Incorporated can help dial up the stakes of any adventure path. In an AC Inc. campaign, every NPC is a potential customer. Every bit of treasure found is an investment into the franchise and its future. Every other would-be hero is the competition, and every villain is the head of Evil Incorporated, just begging for some market volatility. Now, to stop here, while this is said tongue-in-cheek, if we think back to how many times I've said this on the channel, right? There's consistency. If you play Dungeons and Dragons long enough, and other RPGs too, you might as well get associate's degrees in a lot of different fields of study. Biology, geology, sociology, psychology, art. And by virtue of, even through parody, by incorporating this knowledge and using it and thinking of things more in terms of economics, might we also then get an honorary associate's degree in business management or economics? Because we're thinking about this now. We're thinking as people in this situation. We're making these decisions. We're adapting to things that are happening, that are real, but they're not real. But they are real. And so we're adjusting ourselves as needed, just as you do as a manager, as an economist. An Acquisitions Incorporated campaign has a unique texture because it combines deeply ordinary clerical toil with multiverse-spanning stakes. And in the end, you never know which one of those tropes might save your life. AI is high fantasy by the way of office comedy. Imagine the Fellowship of the Ring insisting they only trekked from 9 to 5. Think about Conan barbarously assailing his way up the corporate ladder, or perhaps King Arthur insisting that Excalibur's real magic lie in brand awareness, or Robin Hood pivoting the merry men towards a pyramid scheme. Are you getting the business lingo? I mean, if you play sci-fi, then you might be used to technobabble. And of course, we have things like thieves can't. In a fantasy setting, and even in historical, there is a language of the thieves. You are getting doses of corporate buzzwords of the business world and how it speaks. Within the world of AI, the franchise is the center of brand expansion throughout the world of Faerun and beyond. So this is by default based in Forgotten Realms, the world of Toril, the continent of Faerun. You're already thinking about making an HR goblin. Well, we'll be touching on that stuff. If not tonight, then certainly tomorrow. And if you're available tomorrow, pre-recorded, or shall I call you live? Then we'll help develop that, and we may even generate one on stream on Friday. Keep thinking today's Thursday for some reason, and I haven't run Tomb of Annihilation at the store. Let's see. So it's based in Faerun. Of course, that's easy. You could transplant the concepts into your own homebrew world. Provides a new set of tools for player expression and involvement. In a way, it provides players with a greater purpose to explore. And although entirely non-negotiable, franchise fees are incredibly reasonable. Wink. And by the way, you want to talk about corporate speak? Our integrated intern success pathway is a robust, unparalleled system for reliable growth year on year while maximizing your downstream. If this isn't its own lingo, I don't know what is. PRL is fine. Or is that MAT? Sorry, the letters really close to the parenthesis, and on the display for the chat, it's a little hard to read. But yeah, this will hopefully be able to let you generate the content. If only you have that one boss. Oh, that boss. Throughout history, some people have had things and other people have wanted those things. But where most would gaze upon that arrangement and see an inescapable life of unfulfillment, Ominifus hereward, Omin, Dran, saw a business opportunity. Thus was nice little jingle. Boop, 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 boop. Thus was Acquisitions Incorporated born. In the years since, Omen and longtime employee, though less longtime friend, James Winifred Jim Dark Magic III, have turned a talent for redistribution of property into a reputation as the multiverse's premier adventurers for hire. while this is said in a very flashy way, at its core, and you know what? If Derek was here, especially talking about Vampire the Masquerade, getting things like offering goods and services is extremely it's an extremely popular way to not just generate wealth but notoriety, to network. And networking isn't just who you know, but also but more importantly, who knows you. Who you know, I mean, I could say I know the name of, or like I could describe a celebrity, a politician, or whatever, but that doesn't matter if that person doesn't know me. And of course, wouldn't you rather trade goods and services with your neighbors than trade bullets? Yes, Pouty Lips. The gacha pulls are mostly single minis. There are a couple that have multiple minis, and there are some that have minis that were too big for the gacha capsules, and so they have a placeholder coupon inside for something bigger. Oh, well, thank you very much, Pouty Lips. I can't say that I am, though. This is all moi. Oh, PRL is fine, or just Matt? Okay, so from one Matt to another. PRL or Matt. I some of this stuff I'm not cutting over because or I'm not cutting past it or through it because it's not interesting. I want to make sure that we're talking about the meat and taters of the content. And so if you read this through yourself, because I would like to encourage you to do so, you can get to know Jim Dark Magic on your own and form your own opinion of him and his experiences. $5 for a gacha pull, Pouty Lips. Acquisitions Incorporated began as most adventuring groups do, with the wholesale removal of irksome kobolds, scouting ruined towers, delving into dwarven necropolis cities, and abandoning wounded goblin hirelings named Splug to a terrible fate. The usual stuff. But in short order, ACK Inc. traded kobolds for dragons and upgraded ruined towers to Eldritch temples. As the company grew, so too did its demand for willing and able-bodied adventurers. However, a limited payroll meant having to settle for one or the other. After coming to the conclusion that a mission statement best described as minion harvesting sent the wrong message, Acquisitions Incorporated started an internship program. In accordance with the truism, quote, you get what you pay for, end quote, the very first ACK Inc. intern died on his second assignment with the company. But like all good leaders, Omen Dran understood that truisms cut two ways, and he led the remaining team on a legendary trek through the Nine Hells to recover the soul of said intern. Clearly, none of those hells paid him for it, or paid for him either. Thanks to the company's continuing success and robust internship program, Acquisitions Incorporated has long since outgrown garden variety slaughter and disregard for public well-being. Morgaine, an elf ranger from the Elswyn, joined the team as a troubleshooter some time ago. Okay, so this is some background, like in lore background, things to read and consider if you want to drop these names and have these characters. This is building. This is fluff. It is also support for the content, but I'm not going to worry about tying everything back to Morgaine or to Jim Dark Magic and the like. Beyond the core Acquisitions Incorporated crew, Omen Dran has overseen regular strategic expansion of the ACK Inc. brand. The C Team, the B Team, and numerous other franchise operations have been established, flying the ACK Inc. flag, bearing the ACK Inc. sigil, and most crucially, paying a cut of the profits into company coffers on a monthly basis. In the years between its founding and today, Acquisitions Incorporated has pried deep into the underbelly of Waterdeep, commandeered battle balloons above the jungles of Chult, faced down mechanical beholders, and robbed a bank operated by devils. The team has also rubbed shoulders with some of the most notorious figures in the Forgotten Realms, including bumping into Dritz Do'Urden while journeying through the Underdark. The purpose of this is not just entertainment and to build the fantasy, right? Build the lore, build the story. If you intend to run this content, this is also giving you an excellent prompt. It's giving you permission. Not that you need it, but it is making you comfortable with the fact that, yes, your adventures may take you to these fantastic places. And you may meet, do you want this to be a chance to meet legendary characters of your own world? Or if we go back to Dritz, in Forgotten Realms? This is written and meant for you to think outside the box. You have the blessing of the book to do fun, ridiculous stuff in the name of excessive corporate profit. Mark Twain has a quote about fiction and why truth is stranger than fiction. Hey, Refry, welcome. That could apply to that statement, especially as someone who has studied and has his master's degree in business. A lot of that was studying case histories and such, especially the what not to do. Truth is stranger than fiction, and you're going to come up with some strange fiction over the course of this. The company's mounting successes have led, of course, to imitators and rivals. The Six, counting among their number a certain Left 4 Dead goblin now named Splugoth the Returned, have been a persistent splinter in the Inc. corporate paw for ages, suggesting that acquisition is a family business. Omen's own sister, Portentia, now runs and serves a competing company called Dran Enterprises. Originally founded by what turned out to be a false version of Omen's lost sister, Auspicia, Dran Enterprises has long sought to execute a hostile takeover of Acquisitions Incorporated. Rivals. Think about rivals. Think about competition. You may be the only Acquisitions Incorporated in town, but you're not the only one who is willing to sell their sword. Just because you may own a McDonald's franchise in your town doesn't mean that there's not two Burger Kings, a Wendy's, and and all sorts of other people who do something similar to you that are also competing. You have the only McDonald's, and that is its own brand, yes. Though rivalries could very much be a part of this, and to explore tension, kind of a frenemy status, corporate espionage. These are all things to consider. Green Flame, what do you mean, Refry? No time to read the whole book? Who can blame you? What is this thing, like 200 pages? Yikes. To get a taste of the awesomeness that is an Acquisitions Incorporated franchise, just roll up any number of critical franchise elements from the tables on this page. DMs can also do this if they want to shirk the work of creating rival franchises from the whole cloth. Slackers. There are charts. It's front-loaded. Easy to access. I'm not worried about the charts. We don't even know what we're looking at yet. And so it's here. It's on page 8. So when we understand it, we can come back and boom, flip it open, and when we're generating content at the end of the week, then there we go. Franchise logos or livery. A winking Jim Dark Magic, the franchise's business number, Headquarters. So these are just some prompts here. Again, to get something maybe a little silly, something imaginative, think creatively. If you want to create your own chart, go with what you see here and add 2 options. Or replace all 10 of these with 10 original things that are drawn off of the spirit of what's here. Or if you want to be super serious about this and design everything as a very, sterile, the cold hand of a globalist business, you can do that as well. Headquarter locations, possibly a top-of-the-line naval vessel that has somehow been stranded miles inland, a hollowed-out statue of an ancient king, a former blacksmith shop, which was a former exercise studio, and a former cafe before that. Oh, okay, gotcha. Oh yeah, Fallon. If Fallon joins us, then Fallon will probably be spamming that emote. Refry. Now, I will say as well, and hopefully this isn't taken as some sort of a slight or an insult. If you like this style of, advancement, of going on adventures and all this, I am going to give a shameless plug to D&D Time, to Pete and Jeremy over there. Every Friday, they run 3 games with 4 players, sometimes a little bit more. 4 players each. Every Friday, 12 people get to play D&D over at D&D Time. And they run the lands of D&D Time, and the missions you're sent out on and such are very much along the lines of the concept in which we've read. The quest giver is the one who is running the business, and you're doing things to, spread the word of the business and ultimately yourself, to earn money, to gain influence in the lands. And so if you want to check them out, that is the letter D, the letter N, the letter D, Time. That is their Twitch, twitch.tv/D&D Time. And they also have a website, dndtime.stream. I know it's 5 letters, right? No, 6 letters. I was thinking strem. Whoa, Zero, it's good to see you back. Welcome. Cheers to you. This is what I get for using popular lingo. I'm like, oh, strems and friends and oofs and big oofs, which are boofs. Gen Con was epic. Yes. Report in, Zero. I'd love to hear how your experiences were. As a run-of-the-dungeon adventurer, your character might kick through countless locked doors, lay down ancient magics, or send any number of monsters to the afterlife in the pursuit of fame and treasure. But when you take your place as part of an Acquisitions Incorporated franchise, you become something more than a mere hero. As a member of an elite group standing on the cutting edge of the adventuring business, the brand precedes you. And sure, sometimes the blades on the cutting edge are kind of sharp. But with head office at your back, you know you have the best tools in the industry at your disposal. And maybe the basic funeral packages of Acquisitions Incorporated offers aren't that great. But there are some tasteful upgrades you might consider. That's I don't know if that's meant to be a nod one way or the other to the guild, the background in the player's handbook. You could be a guild artisan or like a seller. And part of the in somewhere in the background, I believe it mentions. Oh no, it's part of the benefits package. The feature you get for being a guild artisan is your funeral is paid for by the guild. This chapter introduces the Acquisitions Incorporated franchise and the rules for running it. Franchise benefits are organized by level tier and include an ever-expanding business territory, wide ranges of options, and upgrades for a franchise headquarters and more. Well, let's just read about it. By default, a franchise rank is gained at each tier of play, beginning at level 1 and advancing when the average party level reaches 5, 11, and 17. The DM might choose to increase or decrease the level of play at which franchise tiers are gained, or tie advancement to story or campaign goals. Each franchise rank provides characters the opportunity to operate in a larger geographic area, hire staff, and direct them to execute franchise tasks. What this is referring to, if you open up... I wish I could help you in that regard, 12-sided. I mean, all I can say is, if you have the book, this helps out. But for purposes of displaying this, it's not very easy to just crack open a book and read this way. So, and on D&D Beyond, yep. So, it is what it is. 12-sided. Now, what this is referring to is, in the Dungeon Master's Guide here, the levels and thereby the spells and the class features are split up in such a way that they encourage tiers of play and presume, sort of baked in, that there are things that are known about you outside of yourself and the party. So, for example, levels 1 through 4, your local heroes. Characters in this tier are still learning the range of class features that define them, including their choice of specialization, usually by 3, but, depending on the class 1 and 2. But even first-level characters are heroes, set apart from the common people by natural characteristics, learned skills, and the hint of a greater destiny that lies before them. Heroes of the Realm. By the time they reach this tier, adventurers have mastered the basics of their class features, though they continue to improve throughout these levels. They have found their place in the world and have begun to involve themselves in the dangers that surround them. Let's go back here. Right? So you are advancing in rank. Rank 1, Settlement. Acquisitions Incorporated grants your franchise a license to operate in a settlement and in a territory around the settlement approximately 10 miles across. If your region includes a coastline, you are granted the rights to engage in sea trade within that region. You can ship goods over land, water, or air to one city or another settlement outside your region. The DM approves this location and might wish to establish your franchise's relationship with it through play as part of the campaign. So, right, makes sense. Your Acquisitions Incorporated takes place in the small farming community that your local hero, right? This is where the anime protagonist finds his uncle was raising him because his father passed away, finds his father's sword in a trunk in the attic, opens it up, and adventure begins when goblins attack, kind of a thing. You're the local hero. You're more than just a farmer's boy. You have a greater destiny before you. In terms of you owning a business, so you are granted this parcel of land, which it's not like a legal, they're just saying, we won't allow other Acquisitions Incorporated to operate in that territory. Doesn't mean that rivals can't, or that other bad things can happen. You might be familiar with a structure like this. Different franchises have. Yeah. So when you buy the franchise, you have rights to this area. Insurance companies might split up territory like that. So if you have, an office in whatever the next big city next to you is, St. Louis, let's say. You're the St. Louis territory that includes here, and no other agents from the same company in a different agency can sell insurance in that geographical area. There's no government agency saying, yes, this is State Farm. State Farm owns this land and can only, is going to back up some sort of competition clause outside of, legal agreements, like private legal agreements. Hey, GM Vault, speaking of other people who've been to Gen Con, Game Master's Vault, I hope you had a good time. You were sharing photos I saw. You looked like you were having a lot of fun, so prove me wrong. Say that it was absolutely miserable and terrible and no one should ever go, because then I'll call you a liar because it looks like it was awesome. That was very dramatic. But that tension, right? If you just say yes all the time, you know, you're just used to getting your way. There's no tension. You just presume that there's going to be automatic successes. You gotta hit that speed bump every now and again to wake up. There we go. It sucked so bad. Be happy you didn't go. Thank you. That's exactly what I wanted to hear, GM Vault. Because I didn't go, and so everyone else can be miserable with me. So, Heroes of the Realm, right? 5 to 10. And this is going to go with a small territory. Your license now expands to include a region similar in size to a province or a small kingdom, typically up to 50 miles across, with your starting settlement somewhere within. See mapping your campaign in Chapter 1, and it's drawn in on this. So make sure you have your core books handy. You're expected to expand your trade and branding throughout the region. You'll seize new markets, develop new offerings, increase your network of contacts, and safeguard the king and queen's spoiled kids so the monarchs think of you positively. You can ship goods to 2 cities or other settlements outside your region. Right, now what are we? Right, we're Heroes of the Realm, so the king and queen themselves might be aware of us. You know, we certainly know them. Maybe we got to, we got to sit at a banquet. And yeah, we were like 10 tables down, but we were invited. The fate of a region might depend on the adventures that characters of levels 5 to 10 undertake. These adventurers venture into fearsome wilds and ancient ruins, where they confront savage giants, etc., etc. What's next? Masters of the Realm. Here we go, 11 to 16. This is high-level play. You are true paragons in the world, set well apart from the masses. At this tier, adventurers are far more versatile than they were at lower levels, and they can usually find the right tool for a given challenge. The fate of a nation or even a Zawarudo depends on momentous quests that such characters undertake. Adventurers explore uncharted regions and delve into long-forgotten dungeons, where they confront terrible masterminds of the lower planes, cunning rakshasas, and beholders and hungry purple worms. They might encounter and even defeat a powerful adult dragon that has established a lair and a significant presence in the world. Alright, so now the king and queen know us. You know, they would call for us to help. Not just to invite us as, a lower functionary of the court heard something and wanted to use the party as a prop, or to say, oh, well, I got these people in and they saved so-and-so. And hey, Corrido, welcome. Zero says I ran 12 hours for a group from North Virginia, and it was awesome. Sometimes DMing at a con feels like work, but these guys were a lot of fun. And the open on Saturday night couldn't have gone better. 9 hours with 18 tables, 104 players, 22 dungeon masters, and 4 admins. That was, so Zero, that was like the big battle that people could go between tables to represent them, like going around to different parts of a battlefield. Am I correct? GM Vault says, I played 0 games at Gen Con and only spent about 250 in the dealer hall. Most of the cool stuff was uber expensive, and everything else I can get online or at my friendly local game store. So what, then I should ask, if you're willing to say, what did you end up picking up then? Like some merch, things that you could only get at the convention, like a t-shirt? That's an expensive t-shirt if that's the one thing you got, but... So now we have a large territory that's commensurate here with the DMG, right? Masters of the Realm. Your license grows to include a broad expanse of provinces, a few small kingdoms, or a large kingdom or federation, covering a territory the size of half the Sword Coast in Forgotten Realms campaign setting. A large territory might overlap with other acquisitions incorporated regions, though you are theoretically working with and perhaps overseeing smaller franchises rather than working against them. You can ship your goods to any destination and can assign staff to a city to which you ship goods, solely to oversee the distribution of those goods, and certainly not to compete with rivals. Don't cause too much trouble, and head office will stay happy. Then lastly, limited extraplanar at rank 4. Specific locations located in other planes of existence. These could include such fabled trading locations as Sigil, the city of brass on the elemental plane of fire, or a Githyanki outpost in the astral plane. This goes along with... This is epic level. You know, for prior editions, 20th level was... that was normal play. And if you dared go beyond level 21, you were an epic level adventurer. In 5th edition, 17 through 20, this is the epic stuff. This is the absolutely crazy bonkers banana spells. The class features that let you do, you know, all sorts of matrix dodging stuff. Like, just unreal things. Hey, thank you very much, Nick Direct. Thank you for the re-up on that. You are 1 month away from getting a new spicy color of salsa next to your name, Nick Direct. Welcome, and thank you so much for re-upping. For those of you out there, remember that your subscription to the channel is #1 appreciated and is always earned if you do subscribe, and that the 3rd Wednesday of the month, so it's the 21st, I believe, of this month. The 3rd Wednesday of every month is a miniature raffle, where based on the number of subscribers to the channel, I pop open boxes of minis, and I draw random names from a raffle, and with free shipping to a U.S. address, you win minis for free. Corita says, I've killed 3 of the main 4 at least once. Went to the 4th for the first time and ended up getting the super rare drop from him, the boss weapon. I must be missing... Oh, there we go. There's these world bosses. Oh, there we go. Okay, I see what you're talking about, Corita. Unfortunately, with your name grayed out like that, it's getting lost in my background. So I'd like to be off base from tabletop stuff for a second. I've been playing an MMORPG called Black Desert. I'm familiar with Black Desert. I'm glad you're having fun with it, Corita. Couple of the guys that went with like the Arcanist books and want me to run a Campagna for them. What is that system about, GM Vault? So by 17th level, characters have super heroic capabilities, and their deeds and adventures are the stuff of legend. Ordinary people can hardly dream of such heights of power or such terrible dangers. Adventures of these levels have far-reaching consequences, possibly determining the fate of millions in the material plane and even places beyond. Characters traverse otherworldly realms and explore demi-planes and other extraplanar locales, where they fight savage Balor demons, titans, archdevils, blah blah blah. So here you go. You have gotten to be just so insanely powerful. You know, you've proven yourself. You're still alive, or at least a semblance of it, and enough to fool corporate. They've expanded your territory even off the plane. If you play with extra planes, you know, not all of us do, but Chapter 5 of the Player's Handbook details the costs for characters to hire skilled and untrained hirelings. As is true of the characters in any campaign, Acquisitions Incorporated franchisees are free to hire any NPCs they want, within whatever limitations the DM wants to set, such as on such employment. But the franchise itself comes with a number of staff whose wages are a part of the franchise's cost, providing not only labor, but story potential. Each franchise rank grants a number of new staff members who live in the franchise headquarters or within its geographic scope. The cost of maintaining staff is included in a franchise's costs. Each staff member has a proficient... Okay, so some details there. If we take a look, rank 1, you get a Major Domo, 2 untrained hirelings, and a skilled hireling. And then you get 4 untrained hirelings and a skilled one and 10 crew. You get starter headquarters, cosmetic expansion transportation for the headquarters features. You get a number of tasks that you can be completing. Now, for some of this, especially for hiring, and, well, hiring hirelings, in the player's handbook in Chapter 5, Equipment, right here under Services, on page 159, you can see, right, if you want hirelings, are they skilled in something? Are they untrained? Untrained may very well be, you hire someone because you need boxes moved around a warehouse. Anyone with a strong back, you can get the job done, there you go. Skilled might be someone who can balance the books. Or, vice versa, you might have some untrained physical labor, but a trained laborer is someone who may be particularly more well-built. Would be the foreman of the crew. Someone who can organize, someone who could probably lift more, do more, think more. Because they're trained in lifting, they're trained in moving boxes, as opposed to just being the ones moving the boxes. Yeah, I may have had to do a double take because I saw 2 gold boss quality drops flash on my screen. When I saw it in my inventory, I literally was cackling for a minute. Hopefully those are drops that are good for your character then, Corrida. GM Vault says, I didn't run anything. I was helping how to be a great GM at his seminars. Basically hanging with him, Janet from World Anvil, Dead Aussie Gamer. But I got to hang for a bit with Rudy Rutenberg, Cat Rambo, John Wick, Eric Mona, Bill Allen, The Crafting Muse, Robin D. Laws, and the Dragons and Things cast. Subtle name drops. Oh, and Cody from Taking 20, XP to level 3, Unmade Gaming, and the Nerdarchy crew. So not only do you know, see, you're practicing here. Not only are these people that you know, these are people who know the Game Master's Vault. That is excellent. And GM Vault through you. I know I've had some interaction with Dead Aussie Gamer, and I do see that you. You're very good about posting when people go live in our D&D community. That's really awesome of you. So what I'm saying is, I need to network through you to also rub more elbows. Well, I'm glad you ended up getting some good stuff for you, Corrida. That is quite the rush in MMORPGs when that happens. Spellcasting services, and so there's some other things. Again, we're referencing the player's handbook. Have the core rulebooks handy if you're getting supplements. An employee is like a friend you pay. Kind of pessimistic, but not entirely untrue, huh? All right. So you get some staff. A major domo administers a franchise headquarters. They typically reside within the headquarters and seldom leave it, sending out communications through a dedicated messenger at no extra cost and traveling on foot or by means of the franchise provides. A major domo is proficient in charisma, persuasion, and two skills of the DM's choice. The DM is encouraged to use the rules for creating non-player characters in Chapter 4 of the Dungeon Master's Guide. Isn't that great that we have this open? and that we've done stuff like creating non-player characters on this channel. But it's also a nice handy reference. Bada boom. Hey, forget about it. There's Chapter 4, creating non-player characters. The Major Domo's goal should be aligned with the franchise and with Acquisitions Incorporated as a whole, allowing them to properly act as an ally and steward for the party. It can be helpful to a campaign to provide the Major Domo with a backstory that complements a franchise's evolution over time. And so there's some good prompts and examples that, you know, if we're getting to that point to make this franchise, we'll roll into it. Also, my headphone kind of blurred out there. There we go. Hey, Carl, welcome. Oh, well. Hey, enjoy that drop, Corrida. You know, maybe do some low-key flexing on people in BDO. You know, you do some emote with your character, and it flashes the gear, and you're like, oh, whoops. That must have caught in the light. I probably don't do that. That's kind of antisocial, but... untrained hirelings. So it gets into, you want more than what's provided to you from your franchise fees? Here you go. Untrained hirelings can work for a franchise or its allies, perhaps tending a garden for a noble family, or helping a merchant unload cargo from ships. They will not engage in combat and do not leave the headquarters to join the party on adventures. Again, reference to Chapter 4, and there we go. A franchise's Major Domo can take a company position in addition to the positions taken by the characters. Especially with a small party, it can be good to have a Major Domo fill a useful position that no character wants to take. No other NPCs can take company positions. Job title and benefits. What the player's handbook calls untrained hirelings are often referred to as sub-employees within the Acquisitions Incorporated franchise, while skilled hirelings typically gain the more prestigious title of intern. It's entirely up to the individual franchisees what awesome titles they bestow upon their staff members. Or indeed in lieu of perks such as the occasional wage. A skilled hireling has one or more skill, weapon, or tool proficiencies. A franchise can request skilled hirelings when needed, up to the maximum allowed by the franchise rank, with the players describing the concept behind the hirelings and selecting one proficiency for each. All right, if you're running a business, you're putting the word out. Let's hire someone. We need someone. I don't know. No one in the party is playing a cleric, and you think that's really important. Get a skilled hireling cleric. In fact, if you want to extra combine rules, there was an unearthed arcana about. Oh, pardon me. There was an unearthed arcana about getting a hireling, or as a way of having kind of an official DMPC character that you can incorporate into a campaign like this. Now, those rules became official with it wasn't the Stranger Things starter kit. It was the new one. It was the Essentials kit that actually had that there, so that if two people could play D&D, you have the player character who then gets this sidekick, and then there's the DM. Yeah, D&D Essentials. You got it, Zero. Let's get something. It's really warm. I have a fan on me, but it's like it moved away when I was moving things around, so. Here we go. We're going to go into a lost mine. Yeah, Refry, I'll do my best to answer it. Oh, you got a server-wide notification, Corida. Wow. Well, I bet, yeah, you're feeling like $1,000,000. Jeez. So here we have people management. We're talking about getting an honorary degree in business management by playing D&D. This is one way you can go about it. If you have a need for your business, you hire someone to fill the need. Now, from there, business ethics, moral or legal scruples could come into play about firing them, as soon as that need is finished. In many cases, those are subcontractors. But as a part of an Acquisitions Incorporated style, if not an actual AI run, these NPCs, you are encouraged to pay attention to them. Right? These are people who are working for you. And you don't have to spend, a year writing an epic backstory for them. But certainly they're a part of your franchise. And in interesting ways, could enhance it. Or also suffer a grievous defeat as a rival. Maybe does something to try and take your shop out. And they're caught up in it. Characters can adventure with up to one skilled hireling at a time. An NPC with a challenge rating of roughly half the franchise rank works well for most adventurers, providing utility without disrupting balance. The loyalty system described in Chapter 4 of the Dungeon Master's Guide can be used to determine whether the hireling remains dedicated to the party's goals. Well, well, well. Loyalty, you say, huh? Well, why don't we just go here to page 93... Optional rule, loyalty. And this is a way for you to measure the loyalty of your NPCs. I'm not going to get into this. It's here. It's on 93. I will presume you have access to a Dungeon Master's Guide. And if not, that might be the next book that you pick up. Because it's so chock full of awesome stuff. And you'll also find there are many supplements, if not all the supplements, will refer you to things that happen in the Dungeon Master's Guide. Refry, you'll BRB. All right. Let me read your question and see if I have an answer for you when you come back. Trying to buy it from Target. They have it on the shelf, but when I go to check out, they say I can't buy it until September 3rd. That shouldn't be the case, Refry. Because, they were made available at Target before they were made available at brick and mortar stores, which had me a little grumpy. Ultimately, I understand why that was the case, why that was the decision. You should be able to buy it at Target. It's just that they won't be made available to purchase at your local game stores until September. Because it came out last month, so they wanted to give it like 2 months or so to purchase in a big box place before a small business. I think I understand what you're saying, Corida, about the item. Right? It's tough. You have all these characters you want to play, and I don't know if it binds to one of them and you can't transfer them around, or if a character can't just swap jobs and not characters. But hey, feel it out. You've played this long without it. You got time to think about it and go with a build that you feel is going to be best. Should be, well, by default, yes, that is my first reaction. With this, from what I understand, or at least have pieced together, so that I am not an upset person, it was put into Target first, as Target is a target market for Wizards for this particular product. Because there are different target market. Target has a different target market than the target market for Walmart or JCPenney or blah blah blah. So it was put into Target for those reasons, given the type of shoppers and the people who go there. And it was exposed to the public in a way that, because a lot of the public may have heard of D&D but didn't know how to get into it. And many people, even if you run a notable store in the region, may never have heard of you or even knew to look you up. But a lot of people go to Target. And while you're there, you say, oh yeah, D&D, I've heard of that. Hey, let's give it a try. It looks like a board game. And so they do. And then they find the friendly local game store. And GM Vault, the online sales very much can be. Part of that depends on the quality of the store and have they earned the business. So, for example, look, I sell players' handbooks for the cover price, right? What's it, $50, like $49.95 or something. And you could right now, if you go to Amazon, I'll challenge you. Go to Amazon, look up a new player's handbook. You're gonna find people on there liquidating brand new players' handbooks. They're turning them around for like $2 after shipping, for whatever their own business model or reason is. And so, you could probably get a player's handbook for $30. And how I view this is, am I worth $20? Here's a business lesson for any of you in Acquisitions Incorporated. Let's tie this into the supplement. If you're going to be spending $30 on a book that maybe you even knew was $50, am I worth $20 to you? Knowing that if you buy the book from my store for retail price, that $20 puts a gaming roof over your head, air conditioning, a clean bathroom, friends to play, access to snacks and drinks, people who can answer your questions right there in the store if you have them. And if all that's not worth $20 and you just want the book as cheap as you can get it, that's what Amazon's for. And also, some people don't have a friendly local game store. And so in that case, they might want to shop from one, but they have to drive 100 miles. For some of you out there, you might think that's ridiculous. What? Drive 100 miles to the closest game store? Oh yeah, I don't mean to lecture you, GM Vault. Hopefully I didn't come across as in that regard. This is the general address, right? Is what are you doing as the business, right? If you're running Acquisitions Incorporated, think about this. And even if you want to put that kind of office style humor in there, and you get someone who comes in and bargains, says, well, I could really use this onyx dragon statue. It kind of was dipped in a void pool of infinite pain. And so you quote and say, you know what, we could fetch this for you for 500 gold pieces. What? I could go down the street right now to whatever rival, and I bet they would take my job for $440. And it's at this point, you think about it, you say, well, so what would the difference be? What is the 60 gold pieces getting you from Acquisitions Incorporated that wouldn't be provided by the discount relic fetcher? Could it be something like insurance policy? Could it be something like, we have more skilled adventurers in Acquisitions Incorporated than, Repo Inc. over there or whatever. Now, of course, you could always negotiate. You can haggle. right? Say, well, you know what? We have heard lately that they've been doing that, and frankly, they've been cutting their own throat. I don't know if you want to do business with someone who's as irresponsible as that. Look around. This is a nice facility. The reason we do that is because we ask the full fee, including paying our adventures. And then, of course, you could point to your dwarven cook in the background, and you're like, Tilly, hey, you know what, Tilly, can you bring out something fresh for our client here? Or our potential client, depends on how aggressive you want to be with that. And suddenly this NPC comes tottering out. She was juggling eggs, cooks them in a hot pan, serves them right there in the middle of the meeting. Yes, sir, if there's anything that you want, you let me know. And she goes whistling back to the kitchen, and you look across the desk at the person who has like these 3 perfectly made eggs, and you say, this is what your 60 gold pieces is getting you. You know what? She has a family, and she's got a husband and 5 dwarflings or beardlings or whatever you want to call them, back home. And I'll tell you, we pay her a fair wage. She comes to work every day. She's happy. Look at those eggs. You can tell if someone's upset by how they make their eggs. What do you think? And now this person is seeing that beyond just the acquisition of this onyx dragon statue dipped into the void pool or whatever, they're seeing that they're a part of this ecosystem. They're a part of something bigger, and that there's care, right? If you care enough to pay your employees a wage of some kind, or to give them some sort of coverage, or to to support the community on the other side of the counter, even by having a customer appreciation day. It doesn't even have to be a sale. You just put cookies out for people. It can be something as simple as that, but you're showing you're cognizant of what's going on. You might very well get that business, and that extra 60 gold, goes into your pocket for investment into your franchise, into the people who work for it. PRL, aka Matt, says you're worth $20 to us, Matty. Thank you very much for that sentiment. I certainly hope so. When it comes to things like pulling the gacha capsules or picking up the boxes of minis, when it comes to all that, I do my darndest to make sure that I am worth that expense. Because you know what, as I saw, people are strapped for cash, and I understand. This stuff competes with gasoline, food. Maybe you have a family, you have pets or children, or you have medical expenses or something you're paying off, or you're trying to save up for a new car. Those are important things in your life. And while I don't want to seem like I'm competing against them, certainly you make those decisions for future goals. Do I want to invest in minis? I mean, purchase minis, but invest in minis as opposed to setting something aside for retirement. And so every time one of you does a transaction with me, right? You say, hey, let's pop a gacha capsule. Let's open up a box of minis. If I don't come across as honestly appreciative of the fact that I realize you could have dropped those bits, or the donation or PayPal or whatever, you could have dropped those anywhere, and you chose to do so here, and I'm grateful. Stores in your area, Zero, don't support 5e. So is it like a Pathfinder store, or is it just, are they an older edition specialist? Some stores do that, where they just carry like older books. Hark says, I have to draw roughly 45 minutes to mine, so I know what you're talking about on that front. Oh, drive, right? You have to drive 45 minutes to get to your local one, Hark? Yep. Oh, drive, not draw. There you go. My only argument is that many customers are more strapped for cash, and price point is much more of a deciding factor. It can be, yes. It really depends on the business model that you are wanting to present. And look, from one businessman to another, there's all varieties. I mean, that's like saying, pick your flavor of faith. Is there the one true religion? Is it one denomination rules them all and the others are pretenders? One business philosophy? There are many. Not. The, I got close to stirring up pots there, I'm sure. D&D is for nerds anyway. You are correct. Can confirm strength 18 nerd. Old Port, you're rocking that strength 18, huh? Yeah. You go, Old Port Media. Shalveen Singh is back again. It's great to see you. I appreciate you finding us last Saturday. You gave us the Sunday, Monday cooldown. I don't know if you got to see us roleplay on Tuesday, but now we're back for the workshop. Retirement? My car's tires are fine. Puns are welcome here, PRL. I already have enough money saved up. I can live out my life comfortably in retirement as long as I die by next Thursday. Oh, by that, they run Pokemon. Yeah. Zero. It is tough for some, well, as card games shop, I guess more specifically like what Old Port said. It can be tough to get role-playing going in a store that doesn't have it. Role-playing games don't turn over in their square footage as easily as other products do. And what I mean by that is, let's say that a box of Magic cards is 1 square foot. Okay, takes up 1 square foot in your store, and you have 1,000 square foot store. You are paying, and you're paying what, 3,000? You're paying 3,000 a month. So every square foot in your store is $30 per month, which means you need that box of Magic to make $30 every month to pay for itself. Does that make sense? Now, role-playing games can often take up a lot of square footage. However, instead of selling 36 packs of cards out of a box that takes up 1 square foot, you are selling maybe a book a week, book every 2 weeks, book a month, and it's sitting on your shelf taking up space that you're paying rent and electricity and all this other stuff on. And also the store may not have the table space to support it, even if they wanted to. And so you could sell books, for sure. It can be tougher to sell those books if you don't also offer play space for them. It's a good expansion then, Corrida. And PRL, thank you very much for the follow. So this is why stores get skilled hirelings to be able to talk about this stuff. Or why your Acquisitions Incorporated might choose to have a target audience. Or to dedicate and say, yeah, you know what, we're more expensive, but we have the best Feywild explorers. You will find we specifically hired Feywild explorers. You want us to go into the Feywild? We got there. We're expensive, but we're the best. Characters can adventure with characters can adventure with up to 1 skilled hireling at a time. An NPC with a challenge rating of roughly half the franchise. Okay, so we read that in the DMG. Skilled hirelings can also be assigned to franchise tasks, as described in the franchise task and downtime section later in this chapter. Crew are skilled hirelings trained in tasks pertaining to the physical maintenance of a franchise. For example, servers and gardeners, or the navigation of a mobile headquarters. Crew do not leave the franchise and cannot perform franchise tasks. They typically run rather than fight back when attacked, though the DM might decide otherwise. If a mobile franchise headquarters requires more crew than is granted by the franchise's rank, the characters must hire the remainder. Typically, the skilled hireling cost is 2 gold pieces per day. Hiring crew can become a cooperative role-playing activity. Potential crew might hear of Acquisitions Incorporated Remember, the base presumption, if you're opening up AI or whatever equivalent you want it to be, sort of in the Thursday game, the public game, I've been running it as, we've been calling it Good Guys Incorporated. Is an adventuring business since I started doing D&D tutorials a couple years ago at the store. But so it's encouraging, right? There's a reputation. This is an adventuring company. It's come to town. People might be excited. It's like the small sleepy town. The small sleepy town finally gets the Walmart, and everyone in town, might be happy about that. Oh, we have a Walmart. We're officially on the map now. Wandering Wonder, thank you very much for the host. The game shop in my area that is doing the best financially is actually a cafe. They got a counter in the back of the front of house just for TTRPG stuff. Old Port, you're correct. That's something I would love to expand into. And so if any of you are a sugar daddy and want to... No, I'm... so the turnover on stuff like snacks and drinks. And maybe, if that box of magic ends up turning over that $30 10 times, then you've paid for 10 square feet of your 1,000 square feet with one item, right? If you're selling coffees, coffee has a good markup, 200% or something like that, depending on where you go. Your bags of coffee take up, little that, and your bags of coffee are paying for the establishment. The game shop in my area is doing the... Oh, okay, so that was Old Port. Oh, I'm sorry, Zero said to Corrida or other services, snacks. Oh, or charging table time. So far, we have avoided doing that. Now, this is turning into a business conversation outside of Acquisitions Incorporated, kind of. So far, playing in the store is free. If it ever changes, though, the square footage will definitely be getting some heavy investment because it will be directly invested into with the concept of buying table time or table access. I need 8,000 worth of Vulcan kitchenware to expand the store and get food service licensing. Hey, you know what? Get a 3-basin sink and a hot dog roller, and that's a start. Playing Adventurers League is required to be free. Well, I don't run Adventurers League. So these are things that, different stores may have different policies, or it may not be, a table purchase per se. I mean, you bring up a point, Corrida, but I don't want you to think that somehow I'm manipulating things. Interesting place in Indy opening up called Dungeons and Donuts. Okay, yeah, I figured that would have been the case, Zero, but because I don't run Adventurers League for Thursdays, I mean we run it as like an adventure, we report the activity, but I'm not running the official modules for Adventurers League. We're doing Tomb of Annihilation right now, though. Oh wow, I did not know that. Yeah, that's certainly something that I want to expand into for the store, PRL. That is to do foods and drinks that would accompany the style of like the culture of the place. Yeah, hey, DMing is definitely becoming its own business. You want to talk about Acquisitions Incorporated? There's a need for DMs, and there are many groups that'll all throw $10 into a hat and pay a DM $50 a session or more to run D&D if it's a competent person who can show up on time, adjudicates fairly and offers them a great story. Many people do that. So you have crew, right? Potential crew might hear of Acquisition Incorporated because your reputation precedes you. Just as if you are buying a franchise of McDonald's and you get it going in your town, people have heard of McDonald's. They may not know of you as a businessman or businesswoman, but they've heard of McDonald's, and so there's already an expectation. Choices might be offered by the DM between a team of ex-militia who lost their last battle and a crew of recently released criminals who swear they were wrongly imprisoned. Names, personalities, and roles, can be built up. And again, more role-playing prompts. I love this about what we're reading here. Stop and think about these people. Now, yes, you may use them as disposable minions. Though it is encouraging you, if they're important, put something to them. Put some thought to it. Headquarters features. Acquisitions Incorporated head office provides the members of each franchise with a place to call their own. It might not be initially impressive. Cleaning any old bloodstains is the franchisee's responsibility. But over time, characters in an ACK Inc. campaign are granted resources to help construct the headquarters of their dreams. Each franchise rank affords the characters a number of choices, allowing customization and creativity. Sample features are provided as guidelines, but the franchise's features can include literally anything decided on and agreed to by the players and the DM. I love this sort of freedom. Have fun with it. What would be appropriate? Are you role-playing that you know someone at the head office and so they're giving you a chance, but maybe someone in the office is giving you a little bit extra? When selecting a feature, the characters must make decisions together, meaning the players must do the same. Deciding on the features of a headquarters should be a team effort, both in-game and around the table. What should the headquarters look like initially? Do the characters prefer to travel by land or sea, or to operate from a fixed location? Is a ruined keep more interesting than an old vine-covered wizard's tower in the woods? Is the headquarters remote or within a settlement? Perhaps an old tavern or a caravanserai the characters can restore. Think ahead. How do you want to grow your territory, right? Be optimistic. Make that 5-year plan. The 2-year plan, the 5-year plan. Make these projections. Even if it's in the realm of fantasy and you don't have a business degree, think about where you want this to go, where you want it to grow. The characters' collective skill proficiencies, tool proficiencies, backgrounds, and positions within their franchise could all impact the design and construction of a headquarters. A glass blower might make beautiful stained glass windows, while an herbalist fills the headquarters with pleasing or mysterious scents. An acolyte could outfit a small area of the headquarters as a chapel, while a sage sources a unique desk at which to work. Such features are cosmetic or limited in impact, but enable players to feel more interested and invested in their headquarters. Each franchise's starter headquarters is a mundane site, which has often been selected or handed down by Acquisitions Incorporated. The character's initial base of operations could be a ruined tower, a worn horse-drawn carriage, a beat-up fishing boat, a dilapidated store or farm, or any similar structure or site. The DM might direct the characters toward a single ideal location, or might provide a range of options for players and characters to choose from. And of course, many potential franchise locations will have an interesting past. A haunted mansion, a mysterious lighthouse, an old wizard's tower filled with malfunctioning magic, and so forth. They keep getting back to that. Sounds like something might have happened in Acquisitions Incorporated, revolving around that. The DM approves the headquarters concept and decides how large or small the initial structure can be, as well as any useful features. DMs and players can work together to create a map of the headquarters and its surroundings. Chapter 5, the Dungeon Master's Guide, can help detail both wilderness and urban locations. Bum bum ba-dum bum 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 ba-dum bum bum. Well, would you look at this? Adventure environments. It's all right here for you. Many franchisees will use their starter headquarters as a point for expansion, adding on new features, etc. And here are some prompts, right? You have an abandoned lighthouse, raided by orcs who left no one alive. Those are probably just stories. And even if they're true, the orcs won't come back, probably. This abandoned lighthouse headquarters is strong enough to stand against any storm, probably. And many of the leaks have been fixed already. And just look at that cool light on top. And the oversized storage cellar. Docks close by are perfect for a starter franchise that comes into possession of a boat, and are also a sign of the lighthouse's importance to coastal trade. Commandeering it will likely win over the locals and maybe even the region's royalty. Prompts for you to consider, prompts for you to think of. You can run Acquisitions Incorporated out of a carriage. bada boom, here it is. Zero says, the program I helped establish in Indy, we took tips for the DMs. All those tips got turned into store credit and then split amongst all the DMs that ran that week. That's a cool system, Zero. Old Port, your group. Oh, yeah, because Old Port, you recently invested in Acquisitions, Inc. Your group ended up going for a closed down vineyard. What was the choice behind that, Old Port, if you're willing to share? Oh, I love doing lock-ins and overnight, Zero. I did that at the old store location. That was a ton of fun. Well, you know, I'm glad stores are going to operate differently, Corita. And I'm whatever is a happy medium, you know, whatever's the culture of that store, if everyone's happy with it, everyone's happy with it. And if it needs to change, it'll change, or it'll go, you know, it'll get sour. But yeah, this is you know, your conversation is pointing out that this is, you know, it is something that is different store to store because of brick and mortar stores in the hobby industry being ma and pa, right? They are small businesses. Everyone does something differently because of the store owner or the region. You know, you might get a store that can't sell a pack of Magic cards if it was, you know, 50% off, but they blow through Yu-Gi-Oh! And so it's a Yu-Gi-Oh! Store. That's perfectly fine. Even though just across the street, it's a Magic store. And they couldn't sell a pack of Yu-Gi-Oh! If it was 50% off, but they blow through Magic. Or depending on, you know, the region in which you live, you might have a community that sees Dungeons and Dragons as devil worship. And so the kids can come down and play Pokemon, but D&D just isn't popular because the parents don't play, and the kids therefore don't play because the parents don't play and they're not allowed to play. And so a store there will make money selling Pokemon, but they can't make money selling D&D. And so the culture is just different. Story reasoning, the closed down farm prompt was interesting. Modify that to make wine, fragile investments with barrels and crops. The reason why it was abandoned was due to vampires in the cellar system. There might be one at least kicking around inside the suspiciously Oktoberfest looking barrel in the in the back of the last cellar. But no one tell the party for Old Port. But yeah, the party doesn't know that. Look, people think all sorts of things, Corridon. Don't lose any sleep over it. Already time to hit the hay. All right, nerds. Well, all right, back to you, nerd. Thank you for sharing your Gen Con stories, GM Vault, and also your pictures. By the way, GM Vault, if you have a Discord invite link, you are welcome to drop that here. GM Vault took a lot of really good pictures, and also GM Vault's a really good guy to know because, as you can tell, I mean, he gets around. I mean, he's the village bicycle. Just everyone gets a ride, so. Yeah, no problem, GM Vault. See, I'm calling it like it is. GM Vault is in on it too. No, and you know, Corda, people do all sorts of stuff. It's definitely not worth getting upset over. I'm not saying that you are, but don't let it upset you. So, worn carriage and horses. This humble worn carriage, previously owned by a now defunct trading company, makes a perfect starter headquarters. The carriage's exterior is weathered wood, and the interior seats and cushions have seen better days. Still, it offers all the perks of home, plus the ability to change the neighbors every time you take to the road. The rear of the carriage features a generous cargo space for up to 500 pounds of goods, and is protected from the weather. The horses are hardworking and love apples. And if they don't love apples, that's against the rules as written, and you should stop playing D&D, because you gotta remember, this is all fun, tongue-in-cheek prompting. So here you go. AC, hit points. Read through the prompts. Find one that really resonates. Right? You're getting a lot of things that you can take as an initial prompt, and like what Old Port Media said, you step sideways with it. So if you have the farm, a vineyard's a farm. It could be a ranch. Ranch is kind of a farm. Cosmetic improvement gained at franchise rank 2 allows the franchise to radically alter the look and feel of its headquarters. A beat-up wagon could become a gilded carriage with luxurious interiors. So, upgrades, things to look forward to, right? You're investing in the venue, and with that will come the notoriety. Like, people now see that the AI wagon rolling through town is all nice and golden. Expansion features at rank 2. An expansion feature allows a franchise to double the size of its headquarters. When doing so, players and characters can define the changes to the current configuration. Perhaps the headquarters expands in size laterally or gains an extra floor. Open prompting, collaboration, storytelling. Though this is more of like a base building and management style of D&D, similar to when we did the review of the Matt Colville supplement. For castles and keeps and such. But this is still a fun part because you're getting to use your income, the treasure, the notoriety, and you all come back together to grow your business and to decide where you want to take it. And these are ideas. Can you go beyond what's in the book? Absolutely you can. Especially if the DM is in on it too and says, yeah, that sounds really cool. I play by the rule of cool. So instead of the expanded lighthouse that gets taller with 2 additional levels and an upgraded beacon and a stronger exterior, you could say that it grows downwards or something, and is actually now a lighthouse into the Underdark. And so it acts as a beacon for people who might be lost there, or it's a signal so that you could trade with Underdark denizens, and to signal them to come pick up their stuff, you ignite the underground beacon. You know, who knows? Dungeons & Dragons offers a wide range of playstyles and works with many different types of campaign story. The DMG talks about some of the most common types of fantasy that can shape a D&D campaign, including a general sense of campaigns being high magic, low magic, or the D&D standard in between. An Acquisitions Incorporated campaign has its own distinct feel, as talked about in Chapter 1 of this book. Part of that feel comes from the substantial benefits that the characters gain from franchise features and company positions, mechanical boons, magic items, access to powerful spell effects, and more. These benefits are gained automatically as a general reward for the character's adventuring success, driving franchise advancement. So it's important that everyone is aware how adding those built-in campaign benefits to the regular magic gained during adventuring will give the characters a boost in power. For an Acquisitions Incorporated campaign meant to feel and play like standard D&D, the DM should consider creating a low magic campaign and letting the benefits of company positions and franchise features fill in the magical gaps. A standard campaign played with the rules in this book should be treated as a high magic campaign, with the DM and the players understanding that the difficulty of encounters and other tasks might need to be ramped up to offer a real challenge to the characters. Of course, nothing prevents anyone from playing a high magic campaign with the Acquisitions Incorporated rules, but DMs and players should all be aware that doing so will create extremely powerful characters, who will no doubt attract extremely powerful enemies and threats as a matter of course. This is a very good blurb, a good way to reflect on what you've read and to center on this, that, you know, these supplemental rules are going to ramp up the magical presence, And so if you're used to spending, time running D&D in a, generic middle magic fantasy, make the world low magic, and Acquisition Incorporated will bump that up to medium magic. So battle balloons, if you have, all of these are details that, if I read through these, because we don't have battle balloons, right? We're reading the mechanics. But I want to bring your attention to these as ways to consider what you could do and to expand your mind into the possibilities of how you can, cement yourself in the world with your own business and then grow. It's a base building, right? Weapon features. Lighthouse Energy Blast, all right? A Spectral Waitstaff. An ever-changing ship. Defensive features. Because people are going to come a-calling, especially at rank 3. Remember, rank 3... Boop-a-doop-a-doo. Oh, by the way, that was magic in your world? Right? Page 23. If I can find it real quick, where we had the different tiers of play. Tier 3 is the king knows your name and will summon you by your name. Not just that you're presented to the king and, you would be aware of the king at a grand event. But this is level 11 through 16. Playstyle, tiers of play. Here we go. You're Masters of the Realm. And so by this time, look at this. Masters of the Realm, of course your lighthouse is going to have energy blasts. Why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't you have a carriage ejector platform? If you know all these people, these wagon rights that were willing to design and implement all of this stuff into your traveling wagon that started out as a humble, weather-worn one. Why not? Secret features, an escape pod. All right, so what we're going to do, let's take a break here, and then we'll get into things like franchise costs, because that is a mechanic in the game. It's an upkeep system. If you've played Magic, you're familiar with upkeep. If any of you have paid bills, like overhead expenses, you're familiar with upkeep. We're going to take a break here, come back in a little bit, and we're going to pick back up with franchise costs and see where this goes, discuss discuss its implementation, and especially because you're getting all this stuff, right? It says all these are rolled into your franchise costs. Your a certain amount of staff and these upgrades and whatnot that are coming with the reputation of Acquisition Incorporated. So, break time. We'll be back maybe 10 minutes or so, and refresh yourselves. And when we come back, let's have more fun. Let's talk business, right? Is this stuff believable? Have you implemented it, etc., etc.?